Welcome to another episode of the RV Voice. Today we have a very special guest from Grand Design. Grand Design has been a big name for a little over a decade now.
12 years.
Right? 12 years. Yep. Absolutely. And if you haven't heard Grand Design, you're living under a rock. So today we're going to cover Grand Design Reflection, and this is everything you need to know to buy one. We have Dustin, how do you say your last name? I don't want to butcher it.
Like the magician did a great trick.
Gratreak.
Great trick. Yep.
Great trick.
Yep.
Wow. Who spelled that?
Some Norwegian. Long time ago.
Well, I get it. No one gets my name right either.
I'm not even going to try.
Yeah. Bartunek is my last name.
Got it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for spending time with us. And I'm going to let you kind of take the ropes here.
Cool. Well, you asked me a little bit about my background. I guess I can start right there. I've been in the RV industry since 2005. I started at Comfort, a regional manufacturer based out of the Northwest, as a sales trainee back then, and continued to work hard and moved my way into sales, and got a small territory and grew with that company. Went through some changeovers, including our president of our company changing, and Don Clark eventually taking it over, who's our president now with Grand Design, as you know. And so I went from there. That company got dissolved essentially, and went into retail. And I sold at a retail level for a local dealer in Portland. And then went into sales and finance, and then management, and then came back to wholesale back in 2015. June of 15, I started with Grand Design again, and been there ever since. So 9 years, celebrating my 9th year anniversary this month, and yeah, really loving it, and done just about everything short of owning a dealership. So I've got a pretty well-rounded experience.
So you're what they call a veteran in the RV world.
I guess so. Yeah.
So listen up, everybody. This guy knows what he's talking about. But yeah, let's get into Grand Design Reflection a little bit.
Sure. Well, I mean, I like to start with kind of what our top selling points are, and with Grand Design, it's always about our sales, our construction and our warranty. Those are really the two things that I think are hot buttons. I would be happy to go through the list here. I can actually screen share it if that works for you.
Absolutely.
So starting, with construction, since day one, Grand Design's always held ourselves to a higher level, building every unit for full-time living. In fact, you know what? I'm going to start on a different slide. This one's got some great sales points to it, but I think really getting to this page is probably key. And since day one of the goals that Grand Design started with, when the company was created, it was founded around the ideas of taking the experiences that our ownership at the time had and incorporating those into to making a better product. And there's two consistent things that customers were asking for was better build quality and better back-end service. And one of the loopholes of the demographic of customer that was really missed out on was extended stay customers or full timing customers. And since day one, every product Grand Design's built, including Reflection, obviously, it has no warranty exclusion for extended stay owners. That means that you can use the unit any way that you want to as a private consumer, and you're going to be covered under our warranty.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Extreme weather tested. We do third-party testing through two different independent firms. We test every single coach down to 0 and up to a 100 to measure the performance. And we hold ourselves to a much higher standard than what we believe the industry standard is. And at every single level, are trying to maintain some of the best consistent temperatures on those coaches. I'll go into it with an additional slide here shortly. The 3-year structural warranty was a first in the RV industry, especially in the towable level at our price point. That happened back in 2013 when Grand Design started. And has been the same since day one, since the very beginning. A lot of our competitors decided to copy that, and they can copy it, or I like to quote Tommy Boy. You can slap a label on a box, but I'll leave that for you.
Yeah.
The structural warranty since day one has been because we hold ourselves to a higher standard. And again, I'll elaborate a little bit more on that here shortly. All openings for all of our laminated walls are fully framed in aluminum. You can imagine, especially on solitudes and some of our larger units, how big the windows get and how much they weigh. Those windows get very heavy, and a lot of our competitors, though they cut with a very precise method using CNC routing, they cut directly into blocked foam. And when you're putting a 70 to 80, maybe even 90-pound window in those walls, and it's moving around, and your clamp ring seal tightening those on, all you're clamping those to is a piece of blocked foam essentially on the inside. Without any framing around it, there isn't that additional structure that's needed. So that's one thing that's done on every single opening of every single laminated wall on Grand Design. Enclosed and heated underbelly. Every single unit is not just enclosed and heated, but a full floor, subfloor enclosure is fully heated by an individual heat duct running to each individual tank on reflection. So a very, very consistent method. They're heated from the bottom up, which is a very advantageous way of doing it as opposed to trying to heat from the top down. Enclosed in, 100% PDI post-production on every single unit. And again, I'll elaborate a little more on that here. Our even flow heat system is uniquely different than what's out there in the industry. And we do, again, a lot of third-party testing to be able to show how effective that heat system is. I've got some slides for that as well. One of the biggest things that I find a lot of people don't talk about much is our seal system. Our Titan quad seal system is really unique. The average seals out there aren't made for long-term use, and most customers, unfortunately, don't reseal their trailers until they have a problem. And one of the key things that happens is, unfortunately, once you get that water in the coach,
it's too late.
It's pretty hard to alleviate that dry rot from continuing.
Yeah.
So our seal is meant to last longer with lower maintenance, and again, I'll elaborate on that here shortly too. Racetrack ductwork. Our racetrack ductwork is uniquely different as well. In the roof of every unit, we have a racetrack ductwork. If you picture a NASCAR track, where our ACs sit inside the racetrack ductwork. And the advantage with that is not only an increased airflow, measured as much as 23%, but that you can run either air conditioner and cool the whole entire coach. So if you get to a campground where you've only got 30 amp service, you can run one air conditioner but still cool the whole coach effectively, which
awesome.
is an advantage. And then, of course, using top grade materials and processes really in every segment that we compete in and on every model. Our motto internally really is to do the right thing, which I think is special.
Okay. Questions on this? Are these just kind of bullet points that we're going to go through?
Yeah, these are just bullet points. I was going to touch on a couple of these slides like this one here.
Okay. Question on this, because I know this would be a question for consumers. No warranty exclusion for extended stay owners, right?
Right.
So full-time living is the question. Is that warranted? Yeah.
So extended stay and full-time living are the exact same thing in our eyes. And the only reason that there's a difference in that verbiage and not just saying full-time living, because there are mandatory requirements by the government when you state that have to adhere to a different set of codes. HUD housing is an example, where you have different requirements than what the RV industry requirements are. So because of that, we have to change the verbiage, but it's essentially no restrictions on the warranty for private usage, regardless of time. And what I really mean by that, Jake, is if you take into consideration, most customers don't really quantify what that means, but most customers are more familiar with the automotive industry. So I explain it like if you buy a new car today, you're going to get a 3-year 36, a 4-year 48, right? Something to that effect. So that's going to be 12,000 miles a year average if you break that down. So what the auto industry is telling you is that you're supposed to drive that car for 12,000 miles a year, and that's the normal usage. Well, as an RV manufacturer, we came up to the same determination, except we don't have an odometer. So a lot of our brands, we do a 30 days average use as an industry, and our brands look at that in an entirely different light. Most manufacturers look at it like, okay, the average consumer is going to use this 30 days a year. Our customers, we build everything around them using it 12 months a year. And to the point of that is, if you were to drive your car, if you used a coach, let me go back. If you use this coach for 30 days a year or 1 month in the year, you're using it normally. If you use it for a full 1 year straight living in it, you just put 12 years worth of use on it in 1 year. That'd be like driving your car 144,000 miles a year. It would be extreme use. And I don't know one car manufacturer that's going to honor the warranty for unlimited mileage. Do you?
No.
So that's how bold the statement is. And we truly build them around a much more robust construction style for that reason.
And you can feel it when you walk into a Grand Design. I wish we sold them when I was in Lincoln. It's hard to sell against them.
There are a lot of competitors coming out that are making some bold claims and doing things nice and making a very attractive unit. But the reality is that not many of our competitors are taking the time to actually check their work, both in third-party testing and doing this post-production PDI, which I was just going to show you. One of the most unique things about our system is, and where it all really comes from, is in this process right here. Since day one, every single unit has left our manufacturing facility and went over to our service and PDI team. What's unique about that is in the manufacturing facilities, as an entire industry, they're paid piece rate production. So that means they're paid to build the unit as fast as possible. That's as an industry. So if the goal for that day is 10 units and that employee in that manufacturing facility produces 9 units, they're only going to get 9/10 of their pay, right? So what's unique about our system is, unlike every other manufacturer that pays their workers piece rate production and then sends their products through final finish, those same employees are paid piece rate production. So essentially the people checking the work and doing the QC on all those things at other competitors is literally still paid the same way. If you had kids, it would be just like letting them grade their own finals in school. It's not a very good check and balance.
A+.
So what we do is we ship them all to our warranty paid service and PDI team, and they're paid on warranty dollars. And every single one of these coaches goes through a 300+ point inspection and has to get 100% score before it can even leave the factory. So it's a check and balance, and these people are paid on warranty that our competitors simply don't use. So a big advantage for the customer, because we catch a lot of those issues before they even roll out the door, as opposed to shipping them to the dealer.
That's awesome. Because industry standard, when I was selling, we'd have problems right off the bat. They'd show up, there'd be cabinet doors on the floor. And this is kind of the industry average, right? I mean, I'm not talking for everybody, but it happens all the time.
Right.
It was bad. I can't even sell this thing.
Yeah, exactly. At the retail level, I experienced it quite a bit myself, and I can tell you that we used to joke at the dealership I was at that we were the last 10% of the construction or the production line, because we were basically doing the finishing work for them. The problem with that method is that you don't have the parts as a dealer to stock for every single brand that you carry 100% of their parts in stock, and the average turnaround time on parts is 3.5 weeks. Which is just time prohibitive. When you sell a unit, it typically delivers in a faster time period than that.
Yeah.
So one of the next things I'd like to point out is talking again about that third-party testing. On this slide, you can see that we test every single unit in 4 places on the interior and in the underbelly. So what happens is every coach is put in essentially a large freezer, and it's put in there for 48 hours. Allowed to cool soak, so it basically gets down to temperature, and then they fire the furnace up. Now, for the sake of testing, they have standardization, because this happens for every manufacturer that volunteers to pay for it, at least. And the industry standard for this test is to set the thermostat at 75. But what's unique is, honestly, if you were to really use this at 75 and it was 0 degrees outside, you're going to go through an ungodly amount of propane. And unfortunately, because it's the industry test, everybody's tested the same. But what you can see here is the real world results. When it's 0 degrees in the coach, it gets up to 76 in the center of the coach, but never below 70 anywhere in the entire coach, which is really unique. And talking to the third-party testing facility, they've told us that the average coach varies as much as 14 degrees from the center to the ends of the coach. And a lot of that's attributed to our even flow heat system. But what's even more unique is that our heat system plumbs underneath the tanks. So that holding tank area is a full 20 degrees warmer than the competition. And that's exactly the reason why the tests are set with the interior temperature at 75. That's because the average coach with a fully enclosed and heated underbelly, but with the standard plenum style furnace, is only 35 in that underbelly.
So this is interesting,
right?
Yeah, this is really interesting to me. So you have the heated and enclosed underbelly, but you're saying that the ducts run underneath the tanks?
Correct. Yeah. Our competitors, when they build the floor, they build their floors right on top of the frames when they roll the frames into the factory, and they run their joists longitudinally the length of the floor. They'll insulate between them, but they'll leave the center area hollow. They'll put the floor decking on, and they'll cut holes the length of the floor, and voila, you've got a built-in heat duct. The unfortunate, and that's called a plenum, by the way, and the disadvantage to that system is that you slap a furnace as close to the middle as you can, and it forces heat from the center out. But the majority of the heat is coming out of the heat ducts, typically in the kitchen, closest to the furnace, the majority of the heat. And the problem with that design is that those water tanks sit underneath that hollow cavity. So you're trying to force heat down. But what's heat naturally want to do, Jake?
Heat rises.
That's right. So that's
Simple
why
science.
we decided, using a forced air furnace, we ran the heat ducts underneath the tanks. And it has an individual flex foil duct that goes underneath each tank and allows that heat to naturally rise, which it results in a much better performance for the customer.
Well, that's super interesting. Now, this is a controlled test, right? And I've had to fight this 4 seasons camper or RV a million times.
Yeah.
Well, it's extended season. Well, it's extended season. Yes.
There are limitations still, for sure.
when it's a controlled environment, not a 40 degree, negative 40 degree wind chill in Nebraska in the middle of winter, like I tell everybody, nothing's going to last. I mean, there's houses that house pipes freeze.
Exactly. And houses have 6 inches of wall insulation. Here we're dealing with a much smaller space, obviously a much lighter unit for towability. There are still limiting factors, but the way that we've incorporated our heat systems and our insulation really are another level than what the industry standard is. One of the other real advantages is that every single Grand Design, not just Reflection, is actually an R40 roof rating. So it's 2 layers of spun fiberglass and radiant foil in the roof that's wrapped all the way around the front cap, all the way down to the bulkhead on fifth wheels, with a fully insulated gooseneck area, and even got R24 slide floors. So very uniquely well heated, R30 floor on it. One of the best in the industry.
That's awesome. Now, do they have the tanks full when they do these tests?
They do, yeah. So obviously they can't cold soak it, so they fill it up once they actually get it to temperature, and then they get it to maintain. And that is the reason why, obviously, having those tanks and that whole underbelly area be over 35 is so key for our competition. But again, we're able to achieve 20 degrees warmer than that.
That's awesome. So they don't start with full tanks.
They don't.
They get it
cold. They wouldn't be able to.
Then
yeah,
fill
it
it up.
Break.
Okay. That's the question with the full-time RV. I mean, I guess 4 seasons RV. 4 seasons in Texas? Sure. Maybe.
Yep.
Because I know a lot of people in Texas that have freezing pipes. So.
And again, the question you asked me specifically is, do they start with full tanks? They don't start with full tanks because they're actually they're cold soaked. So they're actually, the whole coach is allowed to get down to 0 before the test even starts. And they actually turn the furnace on. And once the underbelly gets above freezing, then they fill the tanks with water. So it is tested at 0 degrees with water in it in every tank, just not starting with water in the tanks. Otherwise, it would already be frozen.
Yeah, that's cool. Either way.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, very cool. The next slide I want to show you, is our even flow heat system. One of the neatest things about our even flow heat system is that because we don't cut those hollow cavities in the floor like our competition, you don't have any of those really janky heat ducts that you can step on and have stuff fall down into. Your pets catch their toenails on it. You catch your heel on it. there's constantly issues with those heat ducts. But again, the manufacturers that do that are doing it to save money. They're not doing it because it's a better heat system. And what's unique about our heat system is all of our heat ducts are mounted vertically in the actual cabinets or at the base of the island. And the advantage to that is it projects the heat out horizontally. And projecting that heat out horizontally creates a much more even heat flow in the interior of the coach. But what's even cooler about our heat system is because we plumb those heat ducts underneath directly into the underbelly, and that's a sealed underbelly setup, it would actually cause cavitation if we didn't allow some sort of airflow. So we actually have a passive air return behind our plumbing station on every single coach. And that's fairly common in fifth wheels. But when you get to the Reflection, the Imagine, and the Transcend travel trailers, you'll find that is very unique. And we're one of the only brands that have all of our temperature sensitive items, like our outside showers and water connections, in a heated and enclosed compartment. So it's going to be much better protected for people who do try to push the extremes of that 0 degree rating.
Oh, and they will. People do.
And they do.
Yeah. Awesome. That's really cool. I'm learning so much about Grand Design today.
Cool. Well, that's, I guess, the point of this call, right?
Exactly. For everybody to know.
There you go. Another cool thing is we do all automotive style graphics. They're a micro perforated graphic, so they're allowed to breathe, which is really nice. They're also just a higher grade material. They're a true automotive grade graphic with a 5-year warranty. Not to pick on any brand in particular, but hope you can see an example down here on the bottom.
That's an old picture. Come on.
Yeah. Hopefully Flagstaff has improved their graphics since then, but certainly at that point, they didn't have an automotive grade graphic.
That's all right. That's cool.
Another neat thing we do that's really key to full-time living capability is allowing your coach to breathe. And one of the advantages that Grand Designs offer on every single segment is that we have attic vents on all of our coaches, just like you have an attic vent on your house. A lot of people mistakenly think that those attic vents are there just to dissipate heat. But the reality is those are really there to dissipate moisture, because what happens if that moisture gets trapped in your house, Jake?
Oh, it's called dry rot.
Yeah,
this is coming from my roofing days.
Trailers or houses.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the key things that's really important when you live in a coach full time and you're using it 12 times more than the industry standard is to dissipate that moisture. So because of that, we have a true closed air attic space, just like a home would have up in that cavity, but we also allow that moisture to escape through these vents. And that's one of the key parts of being a full-time living capable coach.
Interesting. So this is all by, because how many vents do you have on a normal coach?
The average coach will have 2. Some of the larger ones will have 3. Every single coach has 2 so that we have cross ventilation, allows it to breathe a little better. They're required on homes for code, but there is no requirement on that for RVs.
Well, it makes total sense to me because I came from the roofing industry. I used to go door to door, do that, and I was building houses at like 12 years old. So for those who don't understand, this is a negative pressure thing. So wind goes over and it pulls moisture and air through that. Heat rises anyway. So like you open that up, there's going to be some pressure. Very interesting. I didn't know that. I did not know that.
So another great advantage, that's a standard on every single Grand Design. Again, we don't do any laminated roof construction. One of the key reasons for that is not only do you get an additional structural strength from having a true truss roof design, which we use one of the best, and it's very similar to a residential style roof truss with a gang plate nail on each side, pneumatically pressed. So each roof on our coaches has a 4,500 pound snow load rating, which is a great feature. But in addition to that, it allows that space to breathe, where a laminated roof not only is going to have that, not going to quite have that strength, but it's really more importantly not going to allow that coach to breathe. And a lot of our competitors in the travel trailers and smaller fifth wheels are laminated roof construction.
Yeah, and the big reason why moisture happens, hot and cold, because you can have the summer.
In fact, we read a study.
Bottom.
Exactly. Yeah, we read a study where the average consumer actually breathes a gallon of moisture a day just being inside a coach. Not to mention showering, doing your dishes, all the other things you do in a trailer that create moisture.
Wow, that's crazy.
Another neat thing we do, instead of using a butt connector where we could save some money and use butt connectors at every piece of wiring where 2 wires meet, we use a Wago connector. And these Wago connectors are really cool. They're essentially an alligator clamp that goes down over the wiring, but they're a clear back fuse or a few clear back connection. So you can actually see the backside of the connection and tell where you've got a good connection on the wiring. Whereas opposed to a butt connector, you're just simply tugging on it to see if you got a good connection. And unfortunately, if you didn't get a good connection, or if you need to service it, you have to cut that butt connector on the end that was crimped on good, and now you've got a shorter wire. So these are really handy for service for customers that are looking to possibly upgrade or change any of their features in the coach. We use all Wago connections now.
Interesting. So that makes service a little easier.
Service, upgrades, if you want to add solar panels to your coach or an additional battery or an inverter, these things are all done even at our 12-volt distribution center, which is really cool. So you've got this all the way throughout the coach, which is really exciting.
Very interesting.
So I'm going to delve real quickly into construction because this really caters to all of the different products out there. So there's a couple really unique things Grand Design does. Is one, we bring in every piece of material that we laminate and allow it to really acclimate to the temperature and humidity, so that all the pieces are at the same temperature and humidity when they're married together in the lamination process, but also to keep the materials free of any debris that could possibly cause a delamination. I think you can agree that the biggest detriment to lamination is potentially having a delamination, right? Have you seen those?
Oh, yeah.
Structurally, they can be no big deal if they're a small little pocket. But if they get bigger and expand out, they actually compromise the strength of the wall. So as a consumer, they are one of the most costly things that you can fix. And unfortunately, they're a pretty prevalent issue in the industry. Most manufacturers have somewhere between a 90-day and a 1-year warranty for delamination. Grand Design, since day one, has had a 3-year delamination warranty as part of our structural warranty. One of the key reasons is because we're so much more particular on our processes. As an example, every single piece of lawn that we buy has that exterior half-inch trimmed off, just so it has nice, clean edges on it and marries up nicely when we do our lamination process. And we reject almost 50% of our lawn if it has more than one imperfection in it or any wormholes or knots. We'll actually reject that panel. And quite frankly, we sell it back to the vendor, who often sells it to our competition.
Oh, who's that?
So, it's definitely things that customers can't see on the unit, but what make a Grand Design unit really special.
And this
One of the things on this slide, as you can see in the bottom right there, all of our monitors control the whole entire structure, the whole entire building, which is over 130,000 square feet, by the way. That controls it to within a tenth of a degree for humidity and for temperature. And all the machinery is linked directly to that. So it's actually going to make sure that lamination process is within the tolerances needed to make sure that we have an exact bond every time, which is really cool.
Now, is this pinch roll?
They are pinch rolled. So you can see in the top left here where we're talking about tolerances. When our units go through the construction process, they actually basically go through, I'll elaborate on what pinch roll is. They do a fully welded frame. We do a full bead welded frame on all of our aluminum. On every joint is double bead welded at each joint, not just a tack weld on one side or possibly a bead weld on one side, but true beads on both sides. And then when they're done at the frame shop, they actually will measure the distance or the tolerance from corner to corner on each unit. The industry standard for that is 1 inch of tolerance, meaning it could be off as much as 1 inch. At Grand Design, our minimum tolerance is 1/8 of an inch, or 8 times more accurate.
So this is being square. Right?
Exactly. And
So
the reason that's so important is almost all those walls and windows, if it's not 100% true and square, those slide out walls and those windows aren't going to fit back in exactly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So big deal there. Now, again, intolerance, that's a big deal. Number 2 is our drum peel test. We test every single unit, every single coach on every single laminated panel in at least one place. And on the sidewalls, we test those in 2 places on every single coach. The industry standard is to test 1 unit per run. Well, a popular model, like some of our best sellers, like the 303 for me or the 337, those can be as many as 35 to 50 units. So that means the industry standard for our competition is usually to test one wall in one place on every 35 to 50 units, as an example. We test every single unit in 2 places on each sidewall and once on every other panel.
So what does this drum deal do? I've never
So
heard of this drum peel.
This drum peel test is an industry test to measure the strength it takes to separate that bond. And what you're essentially testing in that is how well the bond is actually between the panels that create that laminated wall panel. So if you picture that, the walls are built in kind of a sandwich fashion, with the exterior wall laid face down, and then a layer of glue put on it. Then the frame set down on top of that, and then the block foam inserted in between. And then the interior wall laid on, and then everything rolls through a pinch roll machine. There are 2 processes you can use as a manufacturer. You can use pinch roll, which requires much more exacting standards, as I'm explaining like we use, or there's vacuum bond. The vacuum bond process is advantageous because it sucks it very tight and holds it there for 45 minutes, which allows for that glue to cure. We found, though, that we're much more accurate with our pinch roll process than even really any other manufacturer, and that's evident in our warranty. That's why we have the longest in the industry. But we allow every wall to cure before we stand that wall up. A lot of times those vacuum bonded walls, after they've been cured for 45 minutes, they go right up and actually are standing on a wall. Well, I can tell you it takes longer than 45 minutes for glue to fully cure, and we wait for that. And we give it a full 2 weeks between the time we build that wall and the time that we actually have that unit go out, so that we have time to actually test our walls, and if we catch a problem, fix it.
Very cool. Very cool.
By the way, just so you're aware, the drum peel test, like I said, is an industry standard. It measures the pressure it takes to rip that wall apart. That's measured in foot-pounds of torque. Now, those foot-pounds of torque is an industry standard. Any wall that exceeds 90 foot-pounds of torque is considered a pretty good quality wall. At Grand Design, our average wall tests at 550 foot-pounds per square inch, or almost over 6 times the industry standard.
Sounds like the Ford of RVs. Built Grand Design.
It very well
tough.
could be, unless you're a Chevy guy, yeah.
Well, we don't talk about them.
One of the reasons why our walls test so high, by the way, is that on almost every product we make, we use Lawan wood panels. The industry now has really shifted to where customers' perception is that Azdel panels are a better panel. And we've done a lot of testing internally. In fact, we use Azdel on some of our products where weight is the primary focus. But what we found with Azdel is that in this drum peel test, because we do this so frequently on every wall, that in these drum peel tests, the Azdel simply can't hold to the same strength as the other ones can, as the Lawan panels can. And the reason is because those Lawan panels are actually able to absorb that glue that we put on in that lamination process, resulting in a much stronger overall bond. Does that make sense?
So it's a little more porous, is what you're saying?
Exactly. The porous nature of it is actually what allows it to grab onto that glue and actually have a tighter bond, which in the end is going to mean a stronger wall. Azdel is a very good product, and it's essentially a hybrid between plastic and fiberglass. And it's a great material if you were to have a water leak, because there's no chance of it ever getting any kind of water damage. But the reality is, if you get a water leak in your coach, you're not so much worried about the sidewall as you are water getting in. And a lot of our competitors still use wood decking on the floors. They have wood cabinetry. You still don't want to have a water leak no matter what. So that's why we seal all of our coaches better. But Azdel, while still being a great product, we've tested it internally and cannot get it to exceed 300 foot-pounds of torque, where, again, our average wall tests over 550 foot-pounds. So that's awesome. It's a significant improvement in terms of durability.
Very cool. Very cool.
Going about those seals, or talking about those seals a little more. So you'll see that's a picture of an Imagine being constructed on the bottom left picture there.
Okay.
And from the sidewall to the roof, before we even put any trim on, we put a Mylar tape barrier on there. And that Mylar tape barrier is essentially kind of like a really high-grade duct tape, and or a Turnabond, to those of you who are familiar in the industry. That tape that goes over the joint is an underneath seal that is there before most manufacturers even put anything on. And Mylar tape has an expected life of 30 25 to 30 years on that seal. So a really high quality, high grade seal. Jake, do you know what the average butyl tape is intended to last?
Let's say 5 to 10.
3 to 5 years.
Oh, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, so that means the average customer is supposed to replace all of the butyl tape on their trailers every 3 to 5 years.
Oh, that's
At
an
Grand
easy thing
Design,
to do.
we didn't think that was awesome. And we're trying to make our coaches higher quality and lower maintenance for the customers. Our seals last an average of 25 years, and they're all automotive style seals, which is very advantageous, which means you simply aren't going to have to trim and reseal your coach as frequently as our competition requires you to.
Yeah, and you guys have been using mylar tape for 5-10 years?
At least 7 now. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't around until a few years in with us, and I can tell you we were really excited to go to it. One of the other neat things is not only do we use that mylar tape seal at the joint, but then we use PVC foam seal underneath all of those seals. And that PVC foam seal doesn't expand and contract with heat the same way that putty does. And that's the drawback to that putty is once it expands out and then it cools back off, it doesn't shrink back up. What it does is it stays outside, and it's now the customer's responsibility to trim that off. And now you've got less sealing your coach. And that's why that average seal wears out so fast. Cool. In addition to that, we do a really cool gasket setup for all of our exterior systems. You guys can see in the top right picture there that every single item we put on the exterior of a coach, be it a ladder, a light, a grab handle, again, the shore cord connection, every single thing has a specifically cut gasket for that individual item. You can see below that picture, excuse me, sorry. You can see below that those round circles are all individual cutouts for our rear ladders. And they're specifically designed and die cut for each individual application on the trailer. But what's cool about them, if you think about it like an automotive style, if you take off a door handle on your car, you'll see that your gasket is the exact same shape as the object because it was made for it. Our competition actually just puts putty in a lot of those places, and that putty, again, is just going to ooze out. But these gaskets, even if you were to change out the item, are completely reusable, but are going to have an average to 25 to 30-year life. Pretty awesome, right?
Attention to detail, grand design.
Yeah.
I love this product.
Here's an example of all the places we use those seals, just to give you an idea. You can see that PVC foam seal goes around every piece of exterior, and then the mylar tape. And then what I hadn't mentioned is that fourth part of the seal that we do is our silicone seal. Our silicone seal is, in addition to that, it's a cap seal. What a lot of our competition does that uses putty is they actually will put the putty on, they'll trim it off at the factory, and then they'll put a cap seal of silicone just as an additional layer. But the first time it gets hot, when that trailer arrives at the dealership, that putty's going to swell out and it's going to push out that silicone seal. And now you've just completely ruined your silicone or your cap seal. And that's why a lot of our competitors only have a 90-day warranty on their seals.
Wow. So yeah, because a couple layers of protection in every seal, every corner, every opening.
Exactly. And
awesome.
Those are all the really key things. And what's really cool is just about everything I mentioned there, Jake, is not only for reflection, but for every single Grand Design product, including Transcend that we make. So we really build to a higher level. We hold ourselves to a higher level. And by the way, talking about higher level, one of the most exciting things I want to tell you about today is that we just had a press release announcement. I don't know if you got to hear about it, but we just started the industry's first 135-year transferable warranty program. So not only do we have the longest warranties in the industry, but we just made them transferable as of the end of May. And to protect those owners who already had the faith in Grand Design, we made it even, we even backdated it. Retroactive, that's the word I was looking for, which is pretty darn cool. And again, 12 years ago now, Grand Design was originally started and has since day one had a 3-year structural warranty. And we just recently added a 5-year frame warranty, which is one of the largest in the towable game, at least in anybody we compete with. But now we are, in addition to that, making it transferable for those second-time buyers.
Awesome. If you wouldn't mind, give me a quick bullet point 1 through 5. This is kind of everyone does it a little different. So what does 1 do? What does 3
Sure.
do? What does 5
Yeah,
do?
I was hoping it would explain it here, but it looks like it doesn't too well. So let's go over that. So as an industry first, the company's 3-year and 5-year warranties will now be fully transferable to subsequent owners, joining the existing 1-year warranty. The 1 year is the hitch to bumper. We don't have the ability to control what our suppliers put on their individual componentry. So we have a generalized 1 year that everything is covered. A lot of our appliances and different things that we use have a longer warranty than that. As an example, a furnace has a 2-year warranty. But the one thing that I like to have a paradigm shift for customers is we don't build those appliances. So we're limited to what those suppliers' warranties are. Now, we do choose those suppliers as partners. And I can tell you in every instance, there's always a good, better, best option. And we always choose better, if not best, on all of our componentry. And I'll have a few examples for you here of that. But we use better quality materials everywhere where we can. And then the 3 years are structural warranty. So that's everything Grand Design built, talking about that lamination or essentially the box. The better way to put it, Jake, is I like to tell customers it's a lot like having a home builder build a home for you. That home builder isn't going to warrant the washer and dryer that you put in the house, but he's going to warrant his construction, right?
That's true, yeah.
So the way that I explain it is, look, we cover the things that we installed. So if it's an error in the install, we'll cover it. But we don't cover if the furnace went out or if the refrigerator stopped working. It is bound by the warranties for that. What's great, though, is a lot of our dealer partners sell aftermarket service contracts. And those service contracts are almost always applicable to those individual components. They don't actually cover the structure of the unit. So it really goes hand in hand to have a good aftermarket service contract and to have the industry's best warranties on the construction of the unit itself. And then in addition to that, that 5 years is a frame warranty. So that talks about all things frame related at the underneath. If you were to picture, again, as an analogy, picture the boat on a trailer. We order the chassis from a supplier. We build the box that goes on top of it or the boat, but that chassis underneath is supplied by a supplier. Well, we've now partnered with them to have the longest warranty in the industry on that chassis.
That's awesome. Okay. That kind of breaks it down because, I mean, everyone has it a little bit different. The 135 or 1 and 3 or 2 and 3.
Well, nobody else has a 135, so it makes it pretty unique for sure.
It's the first time.
That's right. A lot of our competitors have done a 1 and a 3, but we're the first to do a 3 and a 5 in addition to that and to make it fully transferable. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
Very cool. Very cool.
One of the last things I'd like to go over with you is a couple of the new features for reflection, if that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people want to hear it.
Yeah. So we have some new stuff that just popped up. I'm just using a couple slides as a reminder for me here, but there's a couple of key things to note. So one of the first is a full walkable roof that has a one-piece TPO membrane with a lifetime warranty on it. So that's a lifetime warranty on the membrane itself. You are still required to service the rig and check your seals, as any customer should, twice a year. But if you do that and you visually inspect your seals, we'll cover even all of our seals for the full 3-year warranty, which is pretty cool.
Okay, can you break down the limited lifetime warranty?
Yeah, the limited means it's limited to defects in workmanship and material of the actual membrane itself. It's not going to cover if you hit a tree branch or the eave of your house. But if the material fails, it's going to be covered.
Okay. So there's no like 15 lifetime, 20-year lifetime. It is lifetime.
100% lifetime warranty. It's the best membrane in the industry with one of the thickest overall mills and the best UV resistance they've ever tested. That's
very awesome. Is it like 88%, 90%?
I'm told over 100% better, but I don't have those stats. I can tell you that I'd be happy to provide that for you later, but I don't have it handy.
Very cool.
But it's an Alpha Systems roof, and it's their top tier.
That's awesome. Very nice.
So yeah, unobstructed pass-throughs on all reflections. One of the cool things that we've done is make sure that there's no plumbing coming down in the center of the storage compartment or wiring hanging down. Everything's fully unobstructed, so you're not going to snag it on things as you're throwing your bag chairs and your totes that you might carry in for camping. You're not going to have them in there and floating around and damaging things inside the coach.
Yeah.
We also use a diamond plate finish on the bottom. One of the newer features I'm excited about is that we've recently started doing water shutoffs at all of our major plumbing sources. So one of the reasons that's cool is a lot of customers looking to service things themselves, maybe change out their faucets or try to fix the ball valve of their toilet. There was really no way to shut off that water system before, and now there is. So at each individual one, there's a shutoff now.
Becoming more residential.
Yeah.
Very
And
nice.
along that line, I highlighted in yellow some of the things that are brand new and are actually coming down the pipe as we speak. Because you asked me to talk about a few things that are coming. One of those is that we're doing 100% PEX plumbing all the way through the coaches with all 100% brass fittings now. So really exciting. That's going to bring up to a higher level of build quality. A lot of our competitors have used some of these in key places, but a lot of them are still using a combination of brass and plastic, or they're using flex lines. And as such, we were as well, because that was the industry standard. But the industry is getting better, and we want to be on the front end of that.
Absolutely. And those plastic ones were just problematic, man.
They were, yeah. One-touch auto leveling on all of our coaches. So every single reflection travel trailer, 100 series, 150 series, and full-size reflection are all 100% auto leveling, where a lot of our competition has started to take that out for the sake of price point. I'm not going to go through each individual ones here. I'm going to hand select a few of the ones that I think are more important, but a painted front cap is great. Universal docking station is really nice. A lot of brands will build an in-house one, but where they'll have their water connections maybe in their fifth wheels, but they'll still have your knife valves underneath the trailer where you've got to crawl underneath, especially with a kitchen slide, where you've got to crawl underneath the slide and the coach to pull that knife valve, which can be a real pain in the butt. All of our knife valves are enclosed in one compartment and easy to access without having to crawl under the trailer, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Upgraded grab handles. We do the extra large Lend-A-Hand grab handles on everything. And then on our full size reflection line, we use the MoreRide safety rail, which is really nice. Matches the length and angle of the actual stairs themselves. So customers have really been excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
We also use the MoreRide entry step. And there are a couple different competitors out there that use something similar. But one of the neatest things about the MoreRide entry step, especially if you're talking about a guy my size, where I'm 6'4" and I have a size 14 shoe, one of the things I like best about the MoreRide step is it's got a larger top step. As you step down from the door, a lot of our competitors have a narrow top step or might even have an angled step behind that where you can catch your heel and slip. So these are a much safer step. And the larger ones even have a lift assist on them on the full-size reflections, so that it'll be nice and easy for those customers to put up and down.
Absolutely.
Fully tinted windows, that 100% open. A lot of our competition has gone to frameless windows, and frameless windows work great. They're a really good-looking window. They work really great when you're in a campground, though, where you're hooked up. And you'll see them on a lot of luxury units, including our own Solitude line. But the reality is over 90% of the camping that's done in a Solitude and some of those more luxury units is done at a campground. With reflection specifically, we're trying to cater more to the demographic that might go out and dry camp at least a percentage of the time. And that's why it was really important for us to have slider style windows that give you full opening capability and a lot more natural ventilation, because you are going to be more likely as a reflection buyer to go out statistically and go dry camping.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense to me.
So dimmable lights is another brand new thing that we just started doing. That's another really cool feature that a lot of customers have been asking for, and we listened. So I'm excited to talk about that. Another neat feature we've added, we recently just added magnetic cabinet enclosures instead of using the positive latch style, which have to be adjusted frequently. Mm-hmm. They're now all magnetic, but the soft close cabinets in addition to that will be really nice.
No waking everybody up in the middle of the night, slamming doors and stuff.
Exactly. So another neat thing we've done is a wall-mounted swivel dinette. Our wall-mounted swivel dinette is really cool. To jump around real quick here, I'm just going to take you to a slide.
A wall-mounted swivel.
Yep, right here. So you can see in this picture, that's what your standard dinette would look like. We removed that pedestal base that we had last year that used to go to the floor, and we did a wall mount bracket. But what's really cool about our wall mount bracket is there's a lever that's spring loaded underneath, You pull down on that spring lever and pull that whole tabletop forward, and you can actually turn it 90 degrees and push it back against the wall. It locks into place, and it creates a flex workspace for customers. Because more and more of our customers are asking for dedicated workspaces or flex spaces to work in their trailer now. So it kind of gives you the best of both worlds, where you get a dinette with unobstructed leg area, but then you also get a nice dedicated work desk that has a window right above it.
I just literally yesterday had a comment on YouTube that I responded to, like, well, we want a desk to work at. Well, I'm like 90% of people, probably 99% of people want a dinette. Obviously,
Yep.
the demographic is changing. Houses are getting expensive, so people are buying these and leaving.
Exactly, man. Yeah. In addition to that, one thing we've done for the last few years, which is really cool, is we, instead of including 4 chairs like a typical RV manufacturer would, we realized, talking to customers. In fact, to share with a little information with you, we actually sent a survey to each customer at the end of 1 year, and we asked them how often our consumers have used or had more than 2 people at the dinette. And what would you guess what the answer was?
I would say 90 to 95% of the time, just 2 people.
It's actually spot on. It's 93%. So 93% of customers in the first year had never had more than 2 people at their dinette. We asked those same customers in a response, would you prefer to have a removable storage ottoman that you could use when guests come over, but when they're not there, you can use it at your sofa or at your theater seats, and it gives you additional storage and flexibility of space. And 100% of them responded that they wanted that. In fact, so much that we sent some of those out to customers on occasion.
That's awesome. So it's an ottoman, it's a chair, it's a storage space.
Super versatile dinette, essentially. Yeah, you've got two fixed chairs. You've got your storage booth that's completely removable. It also actually pops up and creates a coffee table, which is pretty cool too.
Very nice.
So yeah, a lot of functionality in that. Again, I'm kind of hopping around here a little bit, but I'm going to go back to that other slide. So carpetless main deck. One thing that we started doing a few years ago and have now gotten 100% to is that we use rack and pinion flush floor slides everywhere where we can. We only have 2 models that are such a large underbelly of tanks. They don't allow us to actually have a rack and pinion slide. But the advantage with the rack and pinions is that you get a flush floor, but it also allowed us to go with the carpetless slide setup, which is really cool. So completely carpetless on most of our slide outs, 100% carpet free on the main floor decking. And then we fairly recently just went to a flush floor galley slide on our larger 303 and above full size reflections, which takes away that toe knocker kick that happens to a lot of customers on that kitchen slide. Again, me as a big footed guy, I can tell you I used to trip over that fascia that would stick out in the kitchen, and a lot of customers didn't like it. So we changed it.
Yeah, so the flush floor slide. So you use rack and pinion on most of your slides.
Almost all of our slide systems on the main living room slides are rack and pinion. There's only 2 coaches that we simply don't have the room in the underbelly to be able to do that on, and they're both in our 100 series. But in place of those, we actually use the, what's the name of that slide system? What's that?
Cable system? It's cable system or Schwintek?
No cable. We don't use any cables. And in fact, we're going away from Schwintek as well. But the reason we don't use cable systems is because they're a single motor system. And it's been shown that over time that those motors simply won't hold up to the longevity needed to bring those slides in and out. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of potential for customer issues. Unfortunately for customers, it typically happens after the warranty period. So we just chose not to use those. But we use the Slim Rack slide system, which is what a lot of high-end motorhome systems are using on those 2 applications. The Slim Rack is advantageous because unlike Schwintek, that rail's not fixed mounted to the wall, whereas it transitions from in to out over the rollers, it would tend to slightly angle, which would cause some binding and constriction at the motor. So we use the new Slim Rack setup, which actually allows the rail to float. So it has a much more consistent and reliable method of bringing the slide in and out, while still having the advantage of being lighter and pulling from all 4 corners.
High-end stuff on the lower end.
Yeah, like I said, at every application, we don't go with what's cheapest. We go with what we truly think works best on reflection. And that's one of the main reasons. We don't build the cheapest coach out there. but we definitely have a reputation as one of the highest quality.
That's awesome.
Again, there are a ton of other reasons to buy Reflection. We've been going for an hour now, and I've got to get to the airport to go train some customers pretty soon here.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to help anywhere I can, and I encourage anyone to reach out to us. One of the interesting questions that you asked me in a pre-interview here was, why do I think people would not want to buy a Grand Design? So I wanted to mention that to you. Mm-hmm. Quite frankly, the main reason I could see somebody not wanting to buy a Grand Design is price. Quite simply, we don't make the cheapest trailer out there. We don't make the cheapest because it's not what we wanted to offer to the consumer. There's already a lot of trailers out there that are cheap enough. But if you want a trailer that's going to last, or if you want a better bang for your buck, or if you want to have less headaches, then I think a Grand Design is the only choice.
Grand Designs are a wonderful trailer. You walk into one, you notice it. Hey, Jordan, you want to pop us both up? Get rid of the shared screen there. Awesome. Well, Dustin, thank you so much for the whole rundown of Reflection. This is everything you need to know about a Grand Design Reflection, and to buy one straight from the horse's mouth. Dustin Gratreak. I got it that time.
You got it.
Just like the magician does. And
thanks, JP.
Absolutely. Yeah. Bard Tunic. Everyone needs to know. But yeah, it was awesome talking to you. You gave us a lot of good information, a lot of things that I didn't even know about Grand Design. So this is everything you need to know about a Grand Design Reflection. And if you wanted to buy one, I'd say go get one. Why wouldn't you? But Dustin, thank you very much for your time. And we look forward to talking to you some more later.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Take care.